Hello, everyone, and welcome to Super Podcast Action Committee, episode 134. Andrew Eisen here, along with Zachary Knight. Hello, Zachary.
Hello, everybody.
How are you doing?
I'm doing well enough, I guess.
Good.
We're still back and forth from the hospital and home right now. Baby's not able to come home with us just yet, but hopefully in the next couple of days he'll be ready to come home. He just had some breathing problems and stuff when he was born, and so they've just been, helping him grow and strengthen up. So yeah, but yeah, he's doing good though. So we're excited for that. And other than that, I've been doing pretty good. So how about yourself?
Oh, not too bad. I just finished recently the Kirby and the Rainbow Curse guide. And yes, I 100%ed Kirby and the Rainbow Curse. Can I have a slow clap, please? Yay!
Yay!
So,
How long did that take?
2 weeks. It
2
took me
weeks?
a solid 2 weeks, a very leisurely 2 weeks, because I watched a movie this week. I was also playing Pokemon Shuffle in between. I found it because I wanted to check it out. Pokemon Shuffle is the new free-to-play game that Nintendo came out with a couple weeks ago. I thought I'd check it out, and I honestly could really don't care for Pokemon, except Pokemon Snap. But I thought I'd check it out, and I found out that it's a match 3 puzzler. It's essentially Candy Crush. Thank you, Delerpo, for the slow clap. And it's really good for taking a break. You know,
Yeah.
you write a guide for an hour and a half, and the game gives you tokens every half an hour, up to 5 tokens, and you need a token to play a round of puzzle. So I write my guide for a bit, and then I play 5 minutes of games with the 2 or 3 tokens that I have earned, and I go, okay, back to the guide. And the game is a lot easier than I thought it would be, especially since they're trying to encourage you to spend money to buy new tokens or to buy things so that you can purchase special power-ups like more moves and things like that. But really, I'm at like battle number 90, and I think battle number 90 is the first one I failed, and I failed a couple times. Getting close though. It seems to be a matter of just powering up my Pokemon a little bit, of which I have about 100. And but it's a fun little time waster. I'm almost kind of the mindset I must beat Pokemon Shuffle without spending a dime. That to me is the game. Is, can you get through the free-to-play game without spending any money on it?
So is this this is on the 3DS, right?
It's on the 3DS, yeah.
Okay. That's interesting.
Yeah. But Kirby and the Rainbow Curse is all done. So if any of you are having trouble finding a particular treasure chest or getting through one of the challenges, the guide is done. It's on wikis.ign.com.
Let me ask you, which did you have more fun 100%ing? Kirby's Rainbow Dash?
Rainbow Curse.
Rainbow Curse. Which Rainbow Curse or Hyrule Warriors?
That seems to be
more fun.
I had someone ask me something similar on Twitter. Hyrule Warriors certainly took longer. They're really different games, though. I mean, it's really hard to say which one was more fun. I think probably the guide that was more fun to watch, to write a guide for, would have been Kirby and the Rainbow Curse, just because after 2 fairly long guides, there was I did Hyrule Warriors in the fall, which took me almost 2 months, and then I did Lego Batman 3, which took a solid 3 weeks to do. The Lego games are usually, to 100%, they take a long damn time. Yeah. So being able to really leisurely write a guide was so relaxing, and the game is very relaxing anyway. So probably Kirby, but if it's like but I really did enjoy Hyrule Warriors too, and if I hadn't have completely burned out on the game, I probably would have got the downloadable content because it looks interesting and it's fairly priced. Surprising that Nintendo's kind of knocking it out of the park with some of its downloadable content. They may be 10 years behind everyone else, but when they step up to the plate, they knock it out of the park sometimes.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I've been enjoying all this. Oh well, if you're watching live Saturday night and you want to look at the Kirby guide, the last 8 challenges do not have video yet. I still have to upload it, and then someone at IGN has to publish it because I don't have publishing privileges. I don't think there is a publish button. I've never tried pressing it. I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure I don't have publishing privileges. So
Yeah.
what have you been playing this week?
This week I've been playing a lot of Minecraft. We got my son Minecraft for Christmas, and like I said, he's been playing it pretty much nonstop since then, and so this week, I decided, I told him, hey, I'll play with you this week, and so we started up a world, because him and his sisters have been playing, quite a bit, but they've been playing in creative mode where they can just basically where they just can do whatever they want. They can fly around the world and not die and have infinite number of all the materials and all the items. And so they just been having fun playing in that, building weird things and houses and villages and everything. And so I told my son, it's like, yeah, I'll play with you, but we're going to start from scratch and we're going to play in survival mode. So we have to build everything, craft everything, and my son knows how to build everything in the game, so it's just like, it's hardly a struggle. So, but I've actually had a lot of fun playing this, and I think the big thing about the thing that I like about Minecraft is just exploring this world that got created, because everything is procedurally generated. So like when you start a brand new world, it just kind of runs an algorithm that builds a world for you, and it's got mountains and rivers and swamps and all kinds of cool stuff, and so it's just kind of exploring the world, and I like the mining aspect of it, actually digging in, because there's caves in there, and there's abandoned mines, and there's like little secret treasure stashes too. It's like if you notice an area has an unusually large amount of monsters like zombies or skeletons or something, if you find the source of it, there's a little monster spawner, and if you can destroy that, there's treasure chests that you can get, and so there's a lot of fun just exploring it, and there's also a lot, I'm playing it on easy now, so survival easy, so the monsters aren't as strong and there's not as many of them, but still, it's like when you run into a creeper, you really just, those things, they like sneak up on you and everything, and so it's really freaky, and it's like as you're digging too, you get to an area where there's lava, and you kind of have to tiptoe around the lava, because if you touch lava, you're dead. There's no getting out of it, and we have lost so much stuff because we end up accidentally falling in lava or getting knocked into lava by a creeper, and so we've died plenty of times in the game and lost lots of equipment and ore and stuff. But yeah, I'm just having a lot of fun just exploring the world. My son's trying to be this completely organized guy, and he's like, okay, this treasure chest has your stuff in it, this treasure chest has mine, and we're gonna split the food evenly and the ore evenly and stuff, and I'm like, whatever, I'm gonna make my stuff, and then you can have what's left over of my iron, because I'll come up with like 128 pieces of iron, and it's like, I'll only use about a quarter of that to top off my tools and armor and stuff. But so it's just like, yeah, have fun, make lots of stuff, and I just run off again and just go and explore. And so it's a fun game. I enjoy playing it with my kids, and so I'm surprised at how much fun I'm actually having. And I don't really do any of the building either. I'm just exploring at the moment. But yeah, I do like it, and so that's what I've been mostly doing this week, game-wise. So.
All right. In the chat, we've got Cool Dude who says, "Can you hear me?" No, but I can see you writing, and I'm sorry I didn't respond to you earlier. I was too busy yapping about Pokemon. Laxter asks, "Can you beat Pokemon Shuffle?" I'm assuming it was more of a never-ending match 3 type game. Kind of. Essentially, how it works. I don't know how well you can see this, but let's see. No,
Not
camera
at all.
back on me. Not at all. No. Oh well. Essentially, like, imagine the map in Super Mario World or Super Mario Brothers 3, where you move Mario to each individual level. That's kind of how Pokemon Shuffle works, and each level is a Pokemon. So you move to the next level, you say, okay, and you do a puzzle, and depending on how well you complete the puzzle, depends on what the probability is of you catching that Pokemon. So, since there's a finite number of Pokemon, I'm assuming there's a finite number of levels, and you can actually beat the game. I really don't know, though. Laxter also asks, video guides. I was thinking it was just wiki-based guides. Yeah, the wiki guides at IGN, I can embed video in. So for Kirby and the Rainbow Curse, I did a video for all 48 challenges in challenge mode. So you had the video. There's already video posted for the first 40. The 41 through 48 are done. I just haven't uploaded. I'll upload them tonight, and I'll have John or Brendan or someone publish them on Monday morning.
Yeah.
So
now, Laxter asks, if anyone knows if Minecraft translates well to the Xbox version. I'm assuming you're asking if it plays well on the Xbox version. I'm not familiar with that one. We're actually playing it on the PS3 version, and it works pretty well. It's just works pretty much like any other first-person shooter. You can play it in third-person mode, and you can even play it in, like, I don't know, a camera that faces the front of your character. I don't know why you would want to do that, but that's one of the camera modes. But yeah, I play it mostly in first-person mode. The left stick to move, right stick to look around, and then the trigger buttons are your build and mine buttons, and then the other face buttons are your menus and everything, and it works pretty well. Building is a lot easier in creative mode because you can just set yourself up or you can just turn on flying, and you can just kind of hover over everything and build. But in survival mode, you can't fly, so you have to build, like if you're building a house and you fall off the wall that you're building, you have to build steps up to get back up to the top of the roof and continue building. And so building is a lot more tedious outside of creative mode. But yeah, it works pretty well for me. It's not an intense game. You don't have to do a lot of fighting or dodging or strafing or anything. So it's really easy to play with the controller. So I assume the PS3 version, the Xbox version, would be pretty much the same.
okay. Before we move on to first topic, I just wanted to talk about the movie I saw this week, which is called No One Lives, which I enjoyed, but I kind of enjoyed the premise
Does it live
more
up to
than
the title?
Well,
does no one live?
No, the protagonist of the film does survive.
Oh, it's a huge letdown.
But the protagonist is the psychopathic killer. So pretty much everyone he means to get, he gets. But I really enjoyed the premise more than I enjoyed the movie. And the movie's not bad. I enjoyed it, but I kind of like the idea more than the execution didn't meet the potential of the idea. I don't think. Essentially, imagine any of your stereotypical slasher films. You have a bunch of kids in a cabin in a sorority or a dance or a hotel building, something, and a
Hmm.
killer gets in, kills them all except for the final girl who ends up, missing or kidnapped or something by the end of the movie. This movie kind of picks up is a sequel to that, where the killer is driving around with the girl in his trunk, and he gets run off the road by a bunch of idiots who are trying to rob him, and so he ends up, killing everybody to get his final girl back. And it's that kind of an idea, and it's like so it's one of those movies where you have absolutely no one to root for.
Yeah.
There's no good guys in this movie really, well, except for the final girl, I guess. But interesting premise, not quite as awesome as that may sound, but still worth a watch. It has Luke Evans in it, who plays Bard the Bowman in the second two Hobbit movies, if you saw those. So, all right.
Speaking of the Hobbit
Go
movie,
ahead.
I actually somebody had created an edited version of the three Hobbit movies. They took all three movies, and made it into one 4-hour movie. And
There,
I
there's
watched
a
that, and it
couple
was
of
really
those.
good. Yeah, I think there was one that was like edited down to a 3-hour movie. But the 4-hour one that I watched was basically, it got rid of all of the Gandalf stuff. Where Gandalf kind of went off to go deal with the necromancer and all that crap, and then it really condensed down some of the other scenes. It kept a decent chunk of the river scene, where they're at the barrel
Hmm.
scene. Kept a good chunk of that, some of the fun bits of that, but a lot of it they got rid of, like the part where like dwarf after dwarf is chopping this log that's across the river, and then like the last one chops it and the log falls and a bunch of orcs fall into the river, and so they got rid of that scene, and they really cut down the scene in the mountain with um, smog. But yeah, it was really good for a condensed version. So
Hmm. Interesting.
yeah, the movie, I will say to this day that The Hobbit should not have been 3 movies. I think they were stretching it when they originally talked about doing it as 2 movies, but it should never have made it to 3 movies.
Mm, I'm okay with the three movies because I'm at that point I'm kind of invested in the world. I just
Well,
didn't
the
think
second movie was just such a freaking bore. It was a terrible movie. The second one was just drug on, and the action scene just made no sense, and it was just terrible.
I think the I've only seen each of them once, so keep that in mind. But I think probably the third movie was the biggest disappointment for me, simply
Yeah.
because, and I described it to my mom after we saw the film. I said it's a collection of great scenes and great moments that don't work together as one whole cohesive film. Because there's a lot of individual things I love in that movie, but it didn't, gel together
Yeah.
as a film. Um, but
Laxter here says that he likes what they did with Radagast Brown, and I guess you
eh,
can't really complain about what they did with his character, considering in the original book he was mentioned once in like one sentence.
yeah,
So it's just like they could have created a character out of whole cloth and called him Radagast Brown, and it would have been good anyways. Well, not necessarily, but yeah, I'm just not at all. I'm very disappointed in the Hobbit movies, and I couldn't. I wouldn't recommend them. I'll go back and watch the animated Hobbit movie from way back
the
when.
Rankin Bass ones.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's my Hobbit. That's the Hobbit that I will go back to. Speaking of that, Delirical says that he fell asleep during the first Hobbit movie. I fell asleep during the second one. I slept through the entire smog scene, and it's like I watched like the first couple of minutes of it, and then I woke up not shortly before he flew out of the mountain to go and terrorize the lake town, and I did not care at all about anything that happened in between those two scenes, and that's because as far as I'm concerned, they didn't happen.
Yeah. I would, if you love Lord of the Rings and you love that universe, I would say check them out at the very least as a curiosity, just so you've seen them. Um, as I said, there are a lot of individual elements in 3 very long movies that are really wonderful, but yeah, they don't quite work. I mean, they're certainly nowhere near as good as
But I rag on the Gandalf fighting the necromancer stuff. I think had they been taken out and made like a separate movie of that, I think that would have been cool. But because they did it piecemeal and interrupted the story of The Hobbit, I think that made it not as good as it could have been. Had it been its own side film, I think that would have been cool.
Or maybe a Gandalf and Saruman buddy film where they go off side by side and go kick it. 2 old guys kicking ass.
I would watch that. I would watch a Gandalf Saruman film there.
With Kate Blanchett and Hugh Weaving constantly having to come in and save their asses because they're old.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you know what scene I'm kind of referencing from the 3rd film, it's really a wonderful. It's just so fun because you know the characters and you know the actors, but it has no place in the movie, really. You're like, I don't know why this here. I don't think it needs to be here, but I kind of love it anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway, this is not a movie podcast, so let us get on with the first topic, which is EA. Electronic Arts has a history of purchasing talent studios, running them into the ground, and then closing them, but still owning all the IP. And I was going to do some work and actually make a list, but Kotaku did my work for me. So we've got New Flux, which did NBA Street, was shut down in 2007. Playfish, shut down in 2013. Pandemic, which we probably all know, from 2009. Black Box Games, you've probably all heard of, shut down in 2013. Phenomic, Spellforce Battleforge, shut down in 2013. DreamWorks Interactive / Danger Close / EA Los Angeles, the Medal of Honor stuff, EA closed them in 2013. A lot of them recently. Westwood, known for Command & Conquer, so that was closed in 2003. Origin, shut down in 2004, but the name lives on. For better or worse. Bullfrog, Syndicate, Dungeon Keeper, 2000, shut down in 2001, but Dungeon Keeper's still alive. Boy, howdy, EA's kept the flame going on that franchise. Mythic, shut down in 2014, and most recently, Maxis, known for The Sims and SimCity. EA said, people are going to be pissed about that one. Ooh, I know, GDC is this week. Maybe we can shut them down during GDC, and no one will notice. Well,
that didn't happen.
We noticed. So, the poll this week asks, should Electronic Arts keep the Maxis name alive? 227 people responded, and 24% said yes, because it's a highly recognized brand. 6% said yes for posterity or nostalgia's sake. 60%, which was the most people, by far, 137 people said no, let it die with what dignity it has left. And 10% said no, it has no value. So thank you everyone for voting. Zachary, I actually voted no, it has no value. And I mean just the name Maxis. Everyone knows The Sims, everyone knows SimCity. Very few, I think, know or care about the name Maxis. I don't think that means anything to anyone. So I don't think keeping the name alive would do EA any good.
Yeah.
But what do you think, Zachary?
Well, as a fan of SimCity and SimAnt and SimFarm, SimFarm wasn't as good, but SimCity is a game that I remember fondly playing as a kid. SimAnt was another one that I really liked, and and I played the original Sims. I had fun with the original Sims, but the constant stream of accessory packs and expansions and then the sequels just kind of bored me to tears, so I just gave up on it. Um, but as somebody who liked those, to me, the Sim franchise and Maxis were kind of synonymous. To be honest, I couldn't tell you a single other game that Maxis ever did other than Sim stuff. But I think they have a lot of value in that in people being able to associate the two together. And so, I picked, just let it die with whatever dignity has left, because, if EA is going to be making stuff under the Maxis brand without any Maxis talent under doing it, it's just going to be terrible stuff. Really, I don't think there's any original stuff from the Sims or from original Maxis, anybody still in the studio that they just closed down, but they at least had something. When EA takes over a franchise, you get the Sim. I don't know, that stupid mobile game that they did based off of The Sims. Or Facebook game or whatever it was. You get crap like that. You don't get any of the fun simulations aspects that Maxis is known for. And so I think they just need to just let it go and keep it highly remembered. If they want to continue the Sims franchise or whatever else, I guess go ahead and do that if they think they can make money off of it. But don't expect the Maxis name to carry any weight in that future scenario.
Yeah, yeah. Especially if they're going to release crappy games like Sims 4 and the recent SimCity.
Yeah.
Well, Sims 4 isn't crappy so much as it was significantly lesser than Sims 3 somehow. Now they've been kind of patching stuff back into it, but it's like, really, that's it?
No swimming pools. We can't have swimming pools and our highly developed emotion engine.
Which I wasn't seeing much of a difference there. I'm like, don't they already pretty much do that? Really?
Yeah.
And then SimCity was just a complete disaster. So
Yes, it was. It was I think it could have been a good game had they not had this whole focus on the online thing, and that's just that was a terrible move. And that's something that came from the top down. That's something that EA said, no, this game has to be online. And I'm sure everybody in the Maxis office was like, the SimCity has always been a single-player game. Sure, we've had kind of social aspects of it in the past, because you could build multiple cities and have like roads connecting to them, but it wasn't like an interconnected thing. It wasn't a simultaneous multiplayer game. SimCity is just not that kind of game, and for some reason EA thought it was, and just broke the whole concept.
Yeah, it's probably a bunch of programmers going, sir, actually it doesn't have to be online. It works perfectly fine. It has to be online. Yeah. I think Blizzard, there were probably programmers at Blizzard going, it doesn't really have to be online.
Yeah.
No, it must, it won't work. Yeah, it will. No, it won't. And then they're like, oh, the trading post. What was that thing? The online
auction house.
It has to be online for that. It's like, but what if you're not using it? It must be online. And then they took it out. I was like, well, why is it still online? So, but we're not talking about Blizzard today. What subsidiaries does EA have left? Well, it has a bunch of EA this, EA Montreal, EA something or other. They've got someone. Delirical mentioned DICE and BioWare.
Yeah, they still have DICE and BioWare.
Criterion's still around, right?
Maybe, yeah.
I think so.
They're not on Kotaku's list. I think Kotaku did a pretty good job putting that list together. So
Yeah, I didn't fact
if
check it.
it's
I
not
just
on that list, and then more than likely it's still a brand that's running. But yeah,
yeah.
BioWare is still there. DICE is still there. And then yeah, Criterion. I can't tell you what games have come out of the Criterion studio recently. But yeah, I don't think they would shutter BioWare for a couple more years, which is really sad because BioWare was a great company, and then EA got them. They still made some good games, and now they're just kind of going down that rabbit hole at this point. And
Well, I don't know. People really seem to like Dragon Age or Dragon Age Inquisition.
Inquisition, yeah.
So
Well, you
that
know,
that hit a lot of Game of the Year lists.
they
So
still have a lot of the original talent, and I think that's what's going for BioWare. But eventually, that talent's going to bleed out, and then
hmm
the people that are holding on to the BioWare brand and you know, holding true to that philosophy, you know, they're going to lose weight after a few years, and
so Beano, BioWare in name only.
yeah, so probably about, sometime before 2020, BioWare is going to be a shell of itself and possibly close down. Um,
Laxter asks, wouldn't know about EA developers, but what was the last Wii U game they released? Well, let's see. EA released, I think, 4 games. It released, let me see if I can remember this. It released at launch, it had Mass Effect Trilogy. I'm sorry, no, Mass Effect 3 Special Edition, which launched at the same time as Mass Effect Trilogy came out on every other system,
yeah,
and was still missing DLC. They had NFL 14, 13,
yeah,
13, NFL 13, or no, FIFA 13, which was actually FIFA 12 with the FIFA 13 name on it and still missing features. They released Madden, whatever it was called that year, Madden 25, which was missing a bunch of the features that the 360 and PS3 had.
yeah,
And then they delayed, yeah, because it was Criterion, so they delayed Need for Speed. That's what Criterion does. They delayed Need for Speed for 6 months, which was actually a solid port. It just came out 6 months late, and was the same and was $60 or was the high price when everything was already $20 or $30 cheaper. And then EA goes, well, no one will buy our games. I guess we won't release any for the Wii U. I don't know why people won't buy our games on the Wii U. Makes no sense to me. So anyway,
the lyrical says they released FIFA 15 on the Wii last year. That's interesting.
I don't think so, but
I don't know.
I'm pretty sure that's on the For Everything But Wii U list.
Well, he's saying the Wii, not the Wii U. So
Oh,
that's
Oh,
still
oh, oh, yes, that is true. That is true. I'm sorry, I didn't even
yeah.
read your comment. Yes, they did release it on the Wii. So anyway, let us move on to a new topic.
All right.
'Cause I'm so angry at EA. So let's move on to a different company who did something a little silly this week. Capcom. Capcom has been releasing Resident Evil Revelations 2 for everything but Wii U episodically, week by week, and they're on episode 2. And it came out that local co-op is not in the PC version. And Capcom said, well, even though it was on the list of features, and
Mm-hmm.
oops. And Capcom says, oh, well, we took it out because of stability issues. So modders put it back in and said it works fine. So Capcom put it back in, and apparently, and it says it's not 100% polished, but if you want to use it, here it is. Oh, Capcom. And apparently, people who, if you buy the first, you can buy the individual episodes or you can buy the season pass. If you want to buy the first episode just to check it out and you like it, you get a discount on the season pass. Those people are having problems playing episode 2. So Capcom's been having a couple little niggling issues with Resident Evil Revelations 2
Yeah.
this week.
Yeah. I think that's to me I think it's hilarious that Capcom has been hit by the inevitable foot and mouth problem here, where they say that something's impossible, and then the gamers themselves prove it's right. EA had the same problem with
SimCity's
SimCity.
online thing, right?
Yeah, and they said the game has to be online or it won't work. We have all these calculations and stuff on our servers that the local game just can't handle, and gamers proved that it
Within
could
a week.
Within a week. Yeah, they proved that yes, the game plays just fine offline, and EA still hasn't fessed up and removed the online requirement, but Capcom here is just they basically realized just how stupid they sounded by saying something was impossible when they knew full well that it worked just fine. I can't figure out a good reason why they would have removed the feature if they knew it worked. It doesn't make sense to me. Maybe it's just one of those things where they think, oh, it's a PC game. People don't play local co-op on PC. They always play online if they're going to play with somebody. Maybe that's what it was, and they just decided they didn't want to frame it that way, even though it would have been fine.
Weird. I work in QA, and we have a phrase, works on my box. When people come up with a problem and I try to reproduce it and I can't reproduce the problem, it's like, well, it works on my box. Maybe it was one of those cases where it didn't work on Capcom's box. They're like, man, we can't get the co-op mode for the PC to work. Well, just take it out. And they did, and modders put it back in, and they went, what? No, it does work. Okay, here you go.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I can't think of any good reason why they would strip out a perfectly functional mode.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense. Now, the other thing with the season pass, it's a glitch, it's a boo-boo, it happens, but the removing a mode from one version of the game that works fine is nonsensical, so I'm wondering what happened there. Laxter points out that it says, I remember people fixing the PC version of Watch Dogs. Now, if I remember that correctly, someone went into like an ini file and set, show good graphics equals true, or something really, really simple like that. That got the visual presentation of the game a lot closer to the E3 demo that we had seen 2 years prior. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe they kind of locked it down to get parity across the visual parity between PC and consoles or something like that.
Yeah. So what do you think the inevitable what's the word? Response to this is going to be like? What lesson is Capcom going to learn from this whole thing? Are they going to learn that they should leave features in if they're going to advertise them, or are they just going to learn to not put things on the box that they're not going to support to begin
Capcom is probably has the most typos in games of any company I have ever seen. The 3DS only Dual Destinies Phoenix Wright is chock full of an amazing amount of typos. If you've ever played Mega Man Battle Network 4, I think it is, that has even more. That is probably one of the worst modern translated games I've ever seen in my life. They're constantly spelling crap wrong on the spines of their games. I think the original Resident Evil Revelations was spelled wrong on the spine in one of its initial runs. So I don't have a problem imagining that this was a typo, that they took it out and just forgot to take it off the list. So I don't know what lesson they're going to learn here, because I don't know what happened. It's like, don't be stupid, don't be nonsensical, rather. I'm not sure what happened, so I don't know what the lesson to learn from this is.
Yeah, that's I'm probably there with you. It's just like you would think that the lesson they would learn is trust your fans. If you've got a feature in the game and it works, just let the fans have it and see what they think. Because with Resident Evil, local co-op has been something that's been in the game for a long time. It's
Since 5.
yeah. So it's been around for long enough for people to like it and want to play it, and local co-op is a feature of a lot of other games that Resident Evil competes with. So you would think that they would want to support that because the fans want that, and so I would say that they should have just they should keep that around, for future versions, and they should learn to just let the fans have stuff. If you're going to take the time to build it, and it's not broken, and it's not going to destroy the experience, just let them have it. Come on, it's not going to hurt anything. But if the feature is truly broken and doesn't work, go ahead and take it out. That's my thing, but yeah.
Laxter comes up with a conspiracy theory, which is so devious and underhanded and slimy, it might actually be true. Laxter says, well, if you can't play local co-op, online co-op means 2 copies sold.
That's true. That is very true.
And it's like, yeah, okay, so this is a ploy to sell more copies of the PC version? Is this why only the PC version? Is this well, we've got to offset piracy somehow. People hate DRM, so maybe if we force people who want to play together to each buy their own copy of the game, that will offset the piracy. Yeah, I could actually see that.
Yeah.
That is so stupid and slimy. I could actually buy a major publisher, actually, thinking something along those lines. So, yeah. Over on YouTube, Simon Belmont, wow, famous, says the last piece of content I've seen from you, referring to me, I suppose, was 3 years ago, and all of a sudden you appear again. What the hell? Simon, I never went away. I've been here the entire time. I've been dead since the beginning of the movie. Spoilers. I've actually had people they're like, wow, I saw that Nintendo Why Won't You Let Me Give You My Money video like 3 some odd years ago. And have you done anything else? It's like, yeah. I mean, my output isn't incredibly frequent, but, check,
Well,
it's on all the stuff is on the same channel.
yeah. Well, I think it's probably that they get most of their stuff from Kotaku, and I don't think Kotaku's featured any of your videos since.
That's true. Kotaku's only featured 2 of my videos, I think, maybe 3. Definitely 2. They featured the first one, Nintendo Why Don't You Give Me My Money, and the Man Your Games Could Sell To, the Old Spice parody.
Yeah.
IGN has hosted those 2 and the Mad with Zelda Love video, and those are probably the biggest sites that my videos have appeared on. My Old Spice parody showed up on Skepchick once, and they really didn't like it. I mean, really, really didn't like it. And
Yeah.
I'm always so bummed out when people don't like my stuff. Actually, I mean, if you don't like my stuff, that's great. But that video offended a couple people, and I was like, "Oh, if people are offended, I want them to be offended because I tried to offend them. I don't want to make something goofy and piss people off. That's never the intention. But
No,
anyway,
never.
okay, let us move on here. Okay, Netflix. That's the next topic. So, net neutrality is a thing, we hope. And Netflix has, been on the front lines of net neutrality, saying all this crap that Comcast and Verizon is doing is not cool. The paid prioritization, that's a no-no. But in Australia, they are in a zero rating, what's called a zero rating thing with one of the ISPs there, iiNet or double iNet, eNet. I don't know. It looks like something Nintendo named. Essentially, they've made some type of monetary deal that makes it so customers of this particular ISP who use the Netflix service won't have it count against their broadband caps. Um, Netflix CEO Reed Hastings has said, "Whoops, I'm reading the wrong thing." They say we are committed to principles of strong net neutrality. These arrangements are common in Australia, and we opted not to put our members at a disadvantage to those of rival content providers whose viewing wasn't being counted. Now, some people are calling this hypocritical. They're saying that this, uh, you know, paying money so that a particular set of customers have better service or more access or something like that, would not follow the tenets, the spirit of net neutrality.
Hmm.
So, is Netflix being hypocritical here?
I don't think so. I think I wrote when this was published on Game Politics. I wrote that this sounds more of like we're already at a disadvantage in Australia. There's no need to make it worse just to take a stand. That's the kind of thing I would say. Because Netflix is an American company, and Australia already has a lot of problems when it comes to the internet there, importing media and entertainment there and everything. And so because Netflix doesn't have as strong a footing in Australia as they do in the US, I don't think they could manage to make a big stink and get a lot of people riled up and angry at their ISP for the way they're being treated. While they could do the same, but while they can do that here in the US, because Netflix is basically the only way a good large chunk of the American people get their online entertainment. And so yeah, I could see them buying into this deal just because that's the only way they're going to get a good be able to provide the level of service they want to give their customers. I'm sure if that wasn't a requirement, I don't think they would be paying money just to get better service than everybody else. But they're trying to get at the same level as everybody else at this point, and it sucks that they have to do that. And I don't think it was hypocritical at all to do that.
Okay. Netflix released a statement to The Verge saying zero rating isn't great for consumers as it has the potential to distort consumer choice in favor of choices selected by an ISP. We will push back against such efforts, but we won't put our service or our members at a disadvantage. So, Netflix seems to be taking a customer or consumer first stance. It's like, this does suck. We don't like it, but you can't watch our stuff with their bandwidth caps, so we're doing what we can to help out the consumer. At least that's what it sounds like.
Well, and this is one of the situations that net neutrality is meant to address. Where ISPs are not allowed to pick and choose which services get the best, which services are going to get treated nicely enough to be able to offer a good product to their customers. Because a lot of ISPs would love to be able to say, no, we're going to block Netflix so that people have to subscribe to our stuff. We've had problems like that in the past with Skype and VoIP messaging over mobile phones and mobile broadband, ISPs would love to do the same thing with videos with online video, because a lot of the ISPs are owned by major movie and television studios.
Yeah, you can see where it would go with ISPs saying, okay, if we put a cap here, Netflix is extraordinarily popular. If we put a cap here, a significant number of people are going to have problems enjoying the service, so we can strong-arm Netflix and other type companies into paying us money so that their service doesn't count towards the bandwidth cap, which is really against the idea of net neutrality.
Yeah.
Although it's kind of a backwards idea. So there were, instead of paying for the fast lane, they're like doing it from a reverse angle. Oh, you sneaky devils, sneaky.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and that's one of the big issues too. And I think Netflix probably has enough muscle to, here in the U.S. to exact change, and they have. But in Australia, it might take a little work for them to muscle through it. And I think and it's going to take a lot of angry comments from Australians to make anything change, and I don't think net neutrality is really that big of a thing down there, at least not that I've heard. So if any of you guys are from Australia and you know different, let me know, because I would love to be wrong on that. If you guys are really fighting for that, that would be great.
Yep. Alexa,
Oh, go ahead.
Lexer asks, are broadband caps common worldwide? The U.S. only really has caps on mobile 3G, 4G internet, right? I don't know. I know where I live, none of the services have my service doesn't have a cap. I can use as much internet as I want. I just have a speed cap, not a amount of data I can use. However, I do know of mobile services that are capped to a particular
Yeah.
amount.
Pretty much
And also,
every mobile service is capped, except Sprint. I think Sprint is probably the only major mobile carrier that has a truly unlimited data service.
yeah, my the internet service out of my mom's is capped. It's
Yeah,
really capped.
yeah. DSLs tend to be capped, especially those serving rural and suburban areas. Cox, where I live, we've got a cap of 250 gigs a month, which we kind of push up against pretty much every month because we're addicted to Netflix. But I've got a friend who's also on Cox, and he goes, he's him and his roommate, they download like billions of things every month, and they get up into the terabytes with all their downloads, and so they've never had any problems with the caps. He says, they just kind of say, you guys are going over your cap, and they're like, okay, and nothing ever happens. So I don't know. But yeah, I'm not familiar with internet services in Europe or Asia or Africa or anywhere that to really compare it. I'd have to look that up.
Yeah. So, all right, let us move on to a new topic. And this week we've seen a lot. Well, I guess not surprising because GDC was this week, but there were a lot of free game engines announced this week.
Yeah.
Let's see. Source 2 engine from Valve is free.
Completely free.
For anyone. Anyone can download and use that. Think they're building something new with that engine? James thinks so. Maybe
yeah.
Half-Life 3?
Maybe. You never know. Maybe Half-Life 2 Episode 3. I don't know.
We're still waiting. There was supposed to be a third episode, I'm pretty sure, that we never got.
But yeah, I think that's really cool. Source Engine has been a very popular engine with modern modders and indie game developers, just hobbyists and stuff. And there's actually been some really good, some really talented people working within the original Source Engine, and made some really good games. And so it'd be. I think releasing Source 2 completely free is a really good move for Valve, because it's going to have a lot of features, integration with Steam and Steamworks and everything that you're not going to get using somebody else's engine. So that'll be really cool to see what comes out of it.
In addition to that, Unreal Engine 4 is free. Same thing with any future updates for the engine. The only catch is that developers who ship a product that uses Unreal Engine 4 and make more than $3,000 on it will have to pay a 5% royalty fee per product sold.
Yeah. Prior to this, Unreal had like a $15 a month or $10 a month subscription fee, and then they also had like a free version too, but that had the royalties that you're talking about. But the subscription one didn't have as high royalties, I think. But yeah, they decided to just scrap the subscription and go straight with complete royalties on that, and which if you're just wanting to learn and just wanting to try out the engine, it's a great deal. But once it comes to the royalties, you might not like it as much, because from what I understand, it's 5% off of gross. So like if you're selling a game for $5 on the iTunes store, Apple's going to take their 30%, but you're going to have to pay 5%. You're going to have to pay 5% on the $5 you're selling the game for, not the 70% that you get after Apple gives you your cut. So you're going to lose a larger chunk of money from that. So that's something to watch out for if you're going to use it. For a lot of people, that's probably not going to be a big deal if you hit it off really well and you end up making like $10 million bucks. That's going to be $500,000, which is just kind of a drop in the bucket compared to the rest of the money you're going to get. The $66.5 million you're going to get after whatever fees and stuff. So not too bad. But,
okay. Unity 5 also released this week, and it comes in a professional and personal version. The personal version is free for developers with revenue or funding less than $100,000 a year.
Yes, this one I think is probably the best deal for an truly indie developer, because you've got the 5,000, or you got the $1,000 cap per year. So if you're just starting out and you're only making like $20,000 a year, something like that, the free version is a really, really good deal. And the good thing about this one is it's fully featured. You get all the features minus a couple of perks and stuff that the professional version does, but it's really good. And the good thing about Unity though is that you don't have, if you hit that $100,000 limit, there isn't a royalty they're going to take. They're just going to require you to pay for the professional version, which you can do in two ways. You can do a subscription, which is $75 a month, or you can just pay a $1,500 lump sum, which, if you're making $150,000 off a game, $1,500 for a lifetime pro version is an excellent deal. It's better than excellent. That's way better than paying 5% to Epic.
And no royalty owed, right?
And no royalties for using Unity. So that's the good thing.
So as an indie dev yourself, do you use any of them, or have you used any of them, or thinking about using any of them?
I have been considering Unity. I don't. The thing about Unreal and actually Source 2 might be a different whole bag here for me, but Unreal doesn't have the strongest Linux support for me, and I would love to be able to to easily port to Linux. Unity ports to Linux. They don't have a Linux version of the editor or anything, but I can at least port the games directly to Linux, and that's really good. Source 2, I think, with Valve's whole thing with moving towards Linux as an operating system up there with Windows, I think that there's a very good chance that it's going to be fully featured with and compatible with Linux. So I think that will be a really cool thing. But right now I don't use any of them, just because I'm doing mainly 2D games. I really like Hexflixel, which is what I'm using, and I've actually been exploring some other options, some free versions of, free open source game engines out there for 3D stuff. And one of them I found is called the Godot engine, and that one looks really, really useful and exciting for what I'm doing. But just because I'm a big open source fan. But of all these ones that have been talked about, I would definitely go with Unity over any other ones, unless Valve makes some really good pitches with Source 2. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, moving on to the last topic of the evening, and for my money, the most interesting topic, if fluffiest, is how do you define what a video game is and what a video game is not? This question came up a little earlier this week. There is a new piece of software that was released on Steam earlier this week called Pregnancy. And Pregnancy is described on Steam as an interactive short story where the player attempts to influence the decisions of a 14-year-old girl about the future of her pregnancy. Looking at the trailer and screenshots, it's kind of choose your own adventure looking. It looks like it tells you a story through pictures and text, and
Yeah.
the pictures look to be kind of stock photos or something like that. And then it provides you with a list of options. You know, should suit what's her name? Lila. Lila. Should
Yeah, something like
should Lila do this or should Lila do this? And you choose one or the other, and the story branches in that direction. Um, I'll give you the full description because it's kind of an interesting premise. Lila Sandor is the protagonist of Pregnancy. She's a 14-year-old girl who lives in Hungary. Lila gets pregnant after being abused by a criminal, and she is confused about what to do with the child she carries in her womb. The player acts as the voice of conscience, influencing and guiding the young girl's decisions. At the end of the story, see how your decisions line up with other players, inspired by games like Telltale's The Walking Dead and Atlas's Catherine. Now, looking at one of the screenshots, it has a, here are the choices and here are what percentage of everyone who's played the game, 25%, Lila did this and 75% of players did this. Very similar to what the very end of The Walking Dead does. So I can see that influence there. Now, we wrote about this on Game Politics and referred to it as a new choose-your-own-adventure style game from indie developer Locomotiva. And a few people in the comment section didn't agree with categorizing this Pregnancy as a video game, didn't think it counted as a video game.
Yeah.
So my question is, what is a video game? How do you define video game?
Webster's Dictionary define.
Well, actually, I did pull that up.
I pulled, dictionary.com says game, just the word game. The first definition is an amusement or pastime. And then the material or equipment used in playing certain games, yada yada. And then video game is any of various interactive games played using specialized electronic gaming device or computer or mobile device or television and other display screen, along with a means to control graphic images.
Mm-hmm. So a video game has to be interactive, and it has to be on some sort of digital display. That's what makes it, turns it from a game into a video game. But, so the game part, and I've been thinking about this, and it's an interesting thought experiment. The answer is probably completely unimportant. Doesn't really matter.
No,
I mean,
it doesn't.
Pregnancy sounds kind of interesting to me. I don't really care if it counts as a game or not. It's like, so it is a game or it isn't a game. Now what?
See,
we get a definitive answer, and what does it matter?
See, a definition that I go back to, I'm trying to remember who said it, and it's one of the big names in game development and game design. I just can't remember the exact person. But basically he says, defines a game as a series of interesting choices.
Okay.
And, it's just,
so if it's boring, it's not a video game.
Well, no,
Minecraft is not
boring,
a video game because it's boring choices.
But a series of interesting choices. If you have the option of doing this or doing this, by making that choice, you're actually having to think or just making a choice that's interesting and on some level. that's a game. I think like if you're presented with a video game where all you have to do is click to roll click your mouse to roll the dice. Really your choices are click or don't click, and that's not an interesting choice. You know, but with this one, you're presented two options or more than two options, and you're having to decide, which choice do you want to go, which choice you want to make, and you're thinking about what would happen if I made this choice, and continuing forward. I think that makes it more of a game. I think that makes it a game because it is that series of interesting choices.
Hmm.
Let's see if I can find that. If you have something to say.
Oh, sure, got lots of things to say. Now, I think about this as I drive to work, and I think, okay, how do you define game? What's the definition of video game? And I thought, okay,
Sid Meier is who said
Sid
that.
Meier, okay. So, my thoughts were, how about it's something that has a goal that you can fail to achieve by some means other than just not playing.
Yeah,
I failed to achieve the goal because I stopped playing. No, I mean, it has to. Super Mario Brothers. The goal is to make it to the end of 8-4. Can you fail that goal? Yes, you can fall in a pit, you can hit an enemy, or you can run out of time. You know, and that seems to work really for most games I thought of until I started thinking back to games that don't really have a goal other than a high score. Old Atari games like Pac-Man or some of the older versions of Tetris.
the
Space Invaders,
original
Centipede, Missile
Pitfall,
Command.
River Raid.
Yeah, I mean, the goal of those games seem, unless you can think of another way to frame it, the goal of those games seem to be do the best that you can. And it's like, well, can you ever fail that goal? Because when you fail, you have succeeded in doing the best that you could at that moment. So, I think we would all agree that Space Invaders is a video game, but it doesn't quite meet that definition.
Yeah. Now, Laxter brings up a point. He says, video games seem to have moved beyond the term video game. Just like comic books don't have to be funny, video games don't necessarily have to be a game. And I think that's a very, very good point because comic books, you've got comic books and you've got graphic novels, and I think a lot of people who are wanting to move comic books up on the social ladder tend to refer to them more as graphic novels, and which to me and to other people sounds a little more sophisticated. And whereas a video game, when you think of game, you think of children's games, you think of board games and stuff, and and so a lot of people think when they think video games, they think childish things. And so when you're thinking of video games as more of an upward standard, more sophisticated, electronic entertainment is probably a more apt term, whereas it doesn't roll off the tongue as well, and it doesn't really, but it encompasses a lot more stuff.
Yeah, but twice the
Pregnancy
syllables.
yeah, but you've also got to take into account the word entertainment. A lot of people think when they think of entertainment, they think of something fun, something they do to enjoy, to have a good time and stuff. But a lot of people wouldn't consider playing a game about a 14-year-old pregnant rape victim as entertaining, and so they might come to a clash in that respect.
Yeah, I think entertaining is way too subjective. Maybe if you went with, the intention to entertain, sure, but I don't think that's the intention of pregnancy anyway.
Yeah.
Laxter says the problem with my definition and failure state is what about Kirby Epic Yarn? Well, I don't mean failure state as in like game over screen or the ability to die. I mean the ability to. I mean not achieving your goal. For example, there are adventure games, like some of the Broken Sword games, point-and-click adventure games. You can't die.
Yeah.
There's no actual failure state in the game. So does that count as a game under my definition? I would argue that it does, because it's a puzzle game, and you can fail to achieve your goal simply by not being able to figure out how to solve the puzzles.
Yeah.
That would be a way to, and it's the same thing with Kirby's Epic Yarn. If you can't get through the level, if you seriously cannot, and woe is you if you can't. I don't know how that's possible, but Twisted Ideas just point out that there are medals to earn by collecting beads, if I'm remembering correctly,
Yes.
and some of them are actually kind of tough. So it's kind of The Walking Dead. What is the goal? Well, get to the end of the story, right?
Yeah.
Can you fail that? Almost no. Under my definition, Walking Dead almost doesn't count as a game. But there are a few spots where you can fail. For instance, when the babysitter attacks you at the very beginning of the game, if you don't do anything, she will eat your face and you will die. That is one of the only places in the game I've seen that you can actually kind of game over. It'll restart you right there, but you can fail. As far as I know, there are absolutely no dialogue options in that game that will prevent you from reaching the end of the game. You can't make a wrong dialogue choice. However, there are a few puzzles in the game. For instance, you need to be able to get the keys to a pharmacy, which is across the street in the pocket of some zombie that's pinned down by a traffic light pole or something like that. And you have to be able to figure out how to collect all the elements of the environment and use them in a certain way to distract the zombies, to open the door, to get out there and get the keys. So you can fail to reach your goal simply by not being able to figure out the puzzles in the game. But again, early stuff like Space Invaders, and the problem ends up being what exactly is the stated goal. There's kind of a non-specific goal of just play until you die. How do you fail that? So the cel-shaded Prince of Persia would be a better example of a game without a real failure. Say, well, you can fail. I mean, again, that's one of those if you just can't beat an enemy or get past a certain point. Let's look at Pregnancy. I haven't played it. But is there a way to actually... It depends on... I don't know what the goal of the game is. I mean, if the goal is to reach good end, then, if there are good ends and bad ends, then there's a way to fail in your objective. But just from reading the description, I'm not certain that there is actually an end goal of Pregnancy other than reach an ending. Make your choices and reach an ending, and there's no real way to fail that. So if that's the case, then it wouldn't count as a game by my definition, which doesn't count a lot of Atari games like Space Invaders and Missile Command. So it's not a really great definition yet.
Yeah, but I think, based on the Sid Meier's definition of a game, I think, Pregnancy would fall under that, because you are making a series of interesting choices. There's very limited interactivity, but the choices are there, and you are the one making them. And and the way Sid Meier's quote encompasses games, it is a really broad series of things. With Space Invaders, you have an interesting choice of, okay, I've got all these guys above me. Which one should I try to shoot first? Should I start, based on columns or rows, or what? How should I do this? Should I open up a safe place in the center so that I can move over to that to avoid the hail of gunfire coming down at me? You got a lot of interesting choices on how to play Space Invaders. Same thing with Centipede and Missile Command. Those are interesting choices. But yeah, I fail to think. I am failing to think of any games that we would call games. Agree that are games that fail to meet that definition of a series of interesting choices. The choices may be simple, but that does not mean that those choices are not interesting. So,
I found none of the choices in Beyond Two Souls interesting.
Yes, yes.
Actually, I have Heavy Rain sitting over there. I'll be interested. I've played the other David Cage game, Fahrenheit.
Yeah.
Indigo
Indigo
Prophecy is the
Prophecy.
American name,
Yeah.
and that game has one of the best openings I've seen, and it just that. Oh man, that game gets stupid fast.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, it starts actually really cool, and then it drops into stupid but still charming in its own way, and then it just goes full on dumb and
Yeah.
just irredeemably like, what the hell were they thinking? So it'll be interesting. I've seen some footage of Heavy Rain, and it looks to be a series of really uninteresting choices. Should I sit in this chair? Should I open the fridge and see what's inside? Should I let my child watch TV for a bit longer or make him do my homework? I'm like, oh my god, I so don't care. So,
Well, I think yeah, I think when you involve story in the choices, I think that's where you reach the point of the story is not interesting, so I don't care about the choices.
yeah.
And and that can be a problem, but on its own, you are advancing the story, and if you actually do have an investment in the story, then yeah, you are choosing the options that will reach the end you're hoping to get, or at least you hope you're making the choices that will get there. But again, even if you hate the story, even if you don't like the game, you can still make interesting choices. Like, I've played games like that where it's like, okay, what can I do to totally destroy everything that's happening here? If you really don't like Heavy Rain, it's like, what choices can I make to make sure that these characters die the quickest? Because that is possible. You can make choices that will end up killing the characters, and it's like that could be part of the game. So yeah, yeah. There's a
Uh,
lot of fun ways to think about that.
Old School, who's a new name in the comments, so hello, says, I think game is a term used very loosely today. It's very broad these days. It's
Yes.
kind of like anime. You know, I mean, a lot of people think of anime as a genre in and of itself, and it's not. It's not even a style. It's not a style. It's not a genre. It just means animated. That's it.
Yeah.
I mean, from our American perspective, it means animation from Japan. But from Japan's perspective, from what I understand, anime just means animation. That's what the word
Yeah.
means. So
Basically,
game,
what
yeah,
we would
there
call
are.
a cartoon.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we've got puzzle games, point-and-click adventures, RPGs. We've got these Twine games, and I forget what that stands for. Stuff like
Hmm.
Depression Quest and what I'm assuming Pregnancy plays like. And
Yeah.
good old Simon Belmont in the comments says what we've described as basically a visual novel, which have a cult following in the gaming community, but Simon wouldn't personally call it a video game. Um, and yeah, I've played several visual
Would
novels.
you call the original Zork and Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy a game in
I
that
would.
sense?
I would, and I've never played Zork, but I did play the original Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy before I read the book, which made it really, really hard. I
But
think I was
those things are essentially visual novel, or not visual. Those are text-based games, and they are basically a novel that you're playing on the screen. You do have to,
well,
the goal is to find the right keywords and put them in the right order in order to advance the
yeah,
story.
the
Yeah.
right, exactly. I've played 999 and Virtue's Last Reward, and those are definitely a novel that you sit down and read for like, well, depending on how quickly you read, I suppose, but half an hour, hour at a time, and then it throws a puzzle game at you. So it's like a visual novel with a game in it. But I've seen a lot of Twine games, and some of them are absolutely definitely games. And I mean, there are some that are, there's a goal. It's like go in the haunted house, rescue your girlfriend, and get out without being eaten by monsters. And really, the only choices you have are, you know, you read several paragraphs, and then it's like, do you do this or do you do this? And depending on your choices is, how you get through the house, save your girlfriend, and get outside. Actually, the game I'm thinking of does have more game elements. It does have, will you take the red vase, yes or no? And you have an inventory, you have hit points. I forget what it's called, but
Yeah.
so it really depends on the game. As far as pregnancy, would I consider it a video game? I don't know. I haven't played it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I don't think
like I said,
I don't think it
that
matters.
broad definition that I enjoy, pregnancy is a game.
Yeah, but if it is a game or if it is not a video game, does it matter? Does that change your opinion of it as a work? Or I mean,
for some
it's
people,
like
it
I was
dilutes it dilutes the Steam Oasis because it's not a game, and so it doesn't belong on Steam.
Well, I don't know. There are a lot of software applications on Steam that are definitely not video games. They're apps or little weird things. I mean, it's kind of like a Mario Paint. Is that a game? If you completely ignore the Fly Swatter mini game, which is totally fun, that's in the game.
That is a great game.
Ignore that piece. Is Mario Paint actually a video game?
Yeah, it's you can make songs, you can draw pictures, and what other things were in Mario Paint? I forget.
Music.
Yeah, I got the music.
There's also a little animation thing in it.
Yeah.
So you can you can put the pictures that you've made together along with the music and make kind of a looping video.
Yeah.
So
it's like a little flip book effect.
Yeah.
Yeah. But by pure definition, that's not really a game.
No,
you can do some game-like things with it, but yeah, it's just an art and animation app. It's not really anything. It's not a game. Yeah, Mario Paint, not a game.
Spoken.
Yes.
Mario Paint is not a game, except for the small portion in there that is the Fly Swatter thing. It's not a game. Old School clarifies that it's good. It's just not a game. Yeah, and I think that's the more important thing is the whatever it is, video game or no, is it a worthwhile thing to experience? Pregnancy. Yeah. Whether it is a game or whether it is not a game really doesn't interest me much. I'm more interested in, is it a worthwhile experience to have? Is it worth the $2 to purchase it and play through it? Because it's certainly got an interesting premise.
Yeah.
But like No One Lives, does it fulfill the awesomeness that premise sets up? Maybe it falls short. Hard to say.
Yeah.
Game. Laxter says it's a game with a non-game or something.
A game with a non-game.
There's also a coloring book part of Mario Paint. How come there's not a Mario Paint Wii U, for crying out loud? Anyway.
Well, how come there was never a Mario Paint for the Wii? That's another question.
Yeah, that's true. How come Sexy Beach 3 was not on the Wii?
Is that right? They made U Draw.
THQ.
THQ, yeah. I don't know where I got X, but yeah, THQ did the U Draw, and that was essentially the Mario Paint of the Wii. But it's because they had to sell that stupid accessory, it wasn't as good as it could have been. Had they not bothered with the stupid tablet, they would have been fine, I think. But
yeah, maybe. So Mario Paint is art, but games aren't.
Exactly.
Someone asked at the very beginning of the episode, might have been you, Delirical, about Rock Band 4 not coming to the Wii U. It's Harmonix announced it for PS4 and Xbox One, so it doesn't count as a for everything but Wii U game because it's not coming to the PS3 or 360. Will it ever come to the Wii U? Well, the Harmonix person says the Wii U is a really hard call for us, but from our initial research, the audience is not there yet. And I would be really psyched for there to be this public outcry of, where is the Wii U? I will absolutely throw money at you, and I want to buy it and pre-order it and all that. And then we start working on it. I doubt that's going to happen for a couple reasons. One, I don't think Rock Band is that franchise that really gets people about. I think people are like, Rock Band, yeah, hey, I'd play that again. But yeah, there is a hashtag going around, hashtag Rock Band for Wii U. For Wii U. It was lyrical. But I don't think you're going to get as much enthusiasm from people, mainly because I think a lot of Wii U owners are kind of resigned to the fact that this stuff just doesn't work. You know, it doesn't matter how much you want something or how much you complain and yell. You're not going to get it. They don't care. At least that's the perception. I mean, we did get Xenoblade Chronicles and the Rainfall, Project Rainfall stuff.
Yeah, Project Rainfall stuff. Yeah.
But those were games that were already on the Wii. I can't think of an instance where something wasn't going to come to the Wii U, where we complained loud enough and they said, okay, we'll bring it to the Wii U.
Well, considering
maybe
you have 160 some odd titles on your list, and the only ones you've removed were because they just weren't coming at all.
Yeah, it's 162. I was able to take one off the list this week or last week. And I forget which one it was, but it was another instance of a game no longer coming out for the PS3 or 360, rather than taking it off the list because, hey, it's coming to the Wii U. So I think that makes 4 total games I've actually removed from the For Everything But Wii U list. Only one of which was removed because it did come to the Wii U, and that was Activision's Call of Duty Black Ops 2, I think. Of course, it was missing DLC and missing all kinds of features and stuff, but it was also announced like 2 months after everything else, which is why it ended up being on. It was never not coming to the Wii U. It was just really, really late in being announced. So
yeah, which is really weird.
Personally, I would rather have a new Guitar Hero. I always liked Guitar Hero better than Rock Band.
Yeah, well, that's just because you have no friends to come over and play with. Yeah.
Actually, the later Guitar Hero games actually they had Guitar Hero World Tour, which had the drum set and the microphone and stuff, and I think one of them had a keyboard at one point.
That was Rock Band Beatles edition, I believe. I think that's where they introduced the keyboard.
And I play the piano, and I was looking at the in-game tablature for piano. So you'd have keys along the bottom of the screen, and then you'd have these light bars coming down, and you'd have to hit the right keys at the right time. I'm like, would you please just put the sheet music on the screen and I'll play it? I can't follow these stupid lines. Just put the sheet music on the screen. I have the same problem with karaoke games. Because I can read music. I can't. This stupid line doesn't mean anything. It's like you have a line, and then it goes up here. It's like, okay, what is this? This distance, what is it? Is it a whole step? Is it a third? Is it a fifth? Is it an octave? I have no idea. So you end up going la, trying to figure out exactly where it is. It's like, oh, it's a fourth. Okay.
Yeah.
So anyway,
those karaoke games, you don't even have to say the words. You just gotta hum, and you get it right. Just as long as you got the pitch right, you're okay.
Actually, EA had a game called Boogie for the Wii way back when. I got this game. I got it for free. I didn't buy it. It was
As I said, you have to qualify that.
Yeah, it was one of those. It's one of those I know people who know people kind of thing. And the people was like, "Do you want this? I don't want it." And I said, "Okay, I'll look at it." And I played it, and
now, this was the one with the big fat orange character,
starfish-looking thing. Yeah. In kind of a John Travolta Saturday Night Live disco suit. Yeah. It's actually, I like the style. I like the design of the characters, but the game doesn't play for crap. and the karaoke part doesn't even work. I mean, you can literally do this and just ace the karaoke thing. You don't have to
Change pitch
just make a noise into the
yeah.
microphone. Do the voice for my next fundraiser? Delirical, what are you talking about? What voice? What fundraiser? Have I done a fundraiser? I don't think I have.
I don't know. Bit Trip Runner, those are those kind of games are fun. Bit Trip, is it Bit Trip Beat? I think was one that I had, but it was kind of like Pong, but it was musical as well. And you just played on your phone. You just kind of you tilted your phone around and it moved the Pong paddle, and you had to hit the balls, and it kept the song going. And it was actually a really fun game. Just kind of to pass the time. But I really got tired of tilting my phone because it one of the devices I played it on, the tilt functionality just was terrible, so it wouldn't actually move the thing properly, and I got frustrated with it. But yeah, the Bit Trip games are really good. I've never played Donkey Konga. Have you done that, Andrew?
Donkey Konga, yeah. It's the one that hang on.
That's the one with the the bongo controller.
These. Yep.
Yep.
These. So it's a game that oh God, that's dusty. I haven't used it in a while. Something else that's really dusty.
Can you beat Super Mario Sunshine with the Congo drums?
Yeah. Something else that's really dusty that I just pulled out. Look at that.
Wow.
I gotta clean it because this actually sits behind my desk because who has the room for this stuff?
Yeah.
I gotta clean that. That is actually Guitar Hero is the only game I would stand up for. It's weird because I am a lazy son of a gun, and that's one problem I didn't like about the Wii is it's like I don't because they wanted you to stand up and play tennis. I'm like I don't want to. I want to sit and put my feet up and because I'm
so you
lazy.
just kind of flick your wrists and
yeah,
stuff.
Yeah, I'm one
fine.
of those. Yeah, this is how I play Skyward Sword with Legend of Zelda. I'm like, I'm swinging my sword. but Guitar Hero, you get up and you're like, yeah, I'm a rock star kind of person. Blah, blah, it's the only game that ever started me to get off my butt and actually play that. And I have trouble playing guitar sitting down. For some reason, I don't know if my arms are built differently. I just can't play guitar when I'm sitting down. I need to stand, and I also need a shoulder strap because I can't hold the damn thing. I've always had trouble. I just can't sit with a guitar on my lap. Real ones or the fake ones. It just it feels wrong to me for some reason. Keyboards, on the other hand, completely different. I have to sit at a keyboard or piano. I can't stand. Maybe I've just never had one at the right height. But leaning down and trying to play something just does not work. I need my hands at the right angle to play. So, Lexer, I didn't think the term collecting dust actually meant that for most people. Yes, I have a collection. Actually, I did real quick. I did a video a year ago called "My Wii U is Collecting Dust." And in that one, I was making a joke about how everyone's like, oh, my Wii U just sits there and collects dust. It's collecting. There's no games that collects dust. So, for a really stupid joke, I did not clean my Wii U for like 3 or 4 months. And just to have an actual dusty Wii U for one of my stupid YouTube videos, and I'm like,
come on, talcum powder. That's all you need.
Talcum powder mixed with like cinnamon will kind of give a really good a dust-like look, but I really wanted to go authentic, and I knew a drought was coming up, so I planned for this, and I actually did not dust my Wii U for 3 or 4 months for a dumb YouTube video. So. But that's how much I care.
Well, I always have to laugh at the collecting dust thing too, because it's just like I play video games all the time, and all of my systems collect dust because I don't move them around. I move the games themselves around. A particular game might collect dust, but the systems, I say a particular game might collect dust, meaning I don't ever play it. But the systems themselves, just like my TV, it's a dust magnet. I hate cleaning the dust off of them, especially these TVs nowadays that have these all kinds of divots and rivets and ridges in there, and just cleaning those things is a pain in the butt.
Yeah, the point of the video was, or the joke in the video is like, what do we do? There's no games. It's like, how do we stop the Wii U from collecting dust? And the solution in the video is dust the damn thing. Like, get a dust rag and end dust and. Oh, and here's a little behind the scenes note for you. The little sound when I dust off the top of the Wii U is an added sound effect. That's actually a paper towel. That's me cleaning the glass mirror in my bathroom. I recorded that sound and overlaid it just because that squeaking sound, it makes it funnier to me. So now you know. A little behind the scenes trivia.
And knowing's half the battle.
That's right. G.I. Joe. So that song's way too high. Everything is way too high. I have a great excuse as a singer. They're like, Andrew, sing something for me. Let's see how good you really are. And I say I can't because I'm a bass and I can't sing high enough to sing the melody. And I'm not just going to sing the harmony part without the melody. That sounds ridiculous. Not as ridiculous as the baritone part, but...
Yeah.
So for all anyone knows, I don't sing at all. I'm making it all up. Old school asked, do people clean their console every time they play it? And only OCD people who are afraid of dust, I suppose. I clean my electronics, I want to say once a week, but it usually ends up being like every other week I dust. So I want to do this. I tried doing the cycle thing where I dust one weekend and then I vacuum one weekend, but that only means that it ends up being like 3 or 4 weeks between vacuums because I end up getting busy. So I always do a full clean, which is easy in a small studio apartment. It only takes me like less than an hour to clean my entire place. So I try to do it every single weekend, and then usually I end up writing a guide or going somewhere, and so I end up. Boy, this is really, my cleaning habits are very interesting, aren't they? I'm glad we're talking about this. So, anyway, probably wrap it up. That's an hour and a half. So, final thoughts, Zachary? Any?
No. Well, my only last final thought, I guess, would be, and I've mentioned this in the pregnancy article in the comments, but the only people that it matters when you're defining whether a particular game is truly a game is the person making it and the people playing it. If they can agree that it's a game, then it's a game. That's that was just something I thought of during that conversation, and I think that's pretty good. If the person making it says it's a game, that people who play it agree, then yep, we're good to go.
It's a game, yeah. Simon Belmont over on YouTube says, a game is programmed visuals. Could be, although that brings to mind screensavers, which I wouldn't consider a game, but I don't know. There's certainly an element of game there. I'm going to have to think about my definition, because if I can think of a way to reword the stated goal portion, I think that could encompass all those Atari games that don't really have an end. So it's all in the framing. No, it's, we spend a lot of time thinking about crap that really doesn't matter. So, but I have Pokemons to catch, so I think it's time to sign off. Thank you, everyone, for attending and offering your awesome comments and things like that. Let's plug our stuff and be on our way. Andrew Eisen here. E-I-S-E-N is the last name. If you spell it right and type it into YouTube and spell it right, you will find my my YouTube channel where I do silly things. And now that I'm done with the Kirby guide, I will start working on a script for a new video, which I did work on this week and managed to write, I think, like 4 or 5 whole sentences. That's how busy I was this week. The script is mostly done. I have like one or two more sections to write. It's going to be one of the longer ones, like maybe 5 or 6 minutes, I'm thinking. But oh man, I've been so busy this week, just with the guide and work and stuff. Anyway, Andrew Eisen, plug it into YouTube. You can find all my stuff there. At Andrew Eisen on Twitter, where I say really obnoxious things. And Andrew Eisen YouTube, type that into Facebook. You'll find my Facebook page, and I post about silly things there too. So, Zachary, plug away.
All right, you can follow me on Twitter at EasyKnight, and you can also check out my game development work at DK_gaming, and that's DivineKnightGaming.com. I'm making lots of cool little games and hopefully some bigger ones soon. And you can also check out the Oklahoma game development scene at OKGameDevs on Twitter, and it's OKGameDev.com. So with the S on Twitter, without the S online. So check those out.
All right. You have been listening to episode 134 of Super Podcast Action Committee, which streams live Saturday nights at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on GamePolitics.com and my YouTube channel. It's also archived, and I edit a audio version together, which we're finding a new home for. So they're on MediaFire right now. There will be links to the story in Game Politics on Monday. So for now, you'll probably have to save them to your hard drive if you want to keep them. But we're looking for a new home because Libsyn went the way of the dinosaurs. Anyway, you can send us mail at superpackpodcast@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter at superpackpodcast. Subscribe and rate us on iTunes, and like us on Facebook. So we will see you next week with episode 135. In the meantime, come up with an awesome definition for video game and send it to us, or tell us next week. So later, all.
All right, see ya.